Hi, welcome to this week's Hatha Practice. My name's Nicholas. A few props that'll be handy for today. I suggest having a couple hard blocks nearby and then maybe one of the soft blocks as well. And I'll invite you to get started in a seated position for today. So if you want to sit up off of your prop, then go for it. And you're welcome to come to a cross-legged shape, or if there's something else that feels more stable, more quiet in the body, then you might choose that instead. And take a moment to ground down whatever's touching into the floor, and then from there start to lengthen the spine. Maybe close down the eyes if that feels okay, or soften the gaze. And take a scan from the feet to the head just to notice what everything feels like today. Notice if there's somewhere that you're holding some tension, or maybe something's active that doesn't need to be. Maybe you can start to soften that here. And check in with your headspace as well. Does it feel busy or quiet or something else today? Without judgment, just notice. If your body's giving you signals that you might be a little more comfortable in a slightly different shape, then feel free to change it up at any point. But once you've chosen a shape, see if you can settle down into it, see if you can start to find your stillness. If the mind has started to wander, bring it back to your body. And as you feel ready, start to deepen your breath here. Long, expansive inhales. And full exhales. If you like to practice with Ujjayi breath, you might start to find a gentle engagement through the back of the throat for that soft whisper sound. And And if you've been sitting cross-legged, then you might choose to switch the cross of the legs just to keep things even side to side. And then see if you want the prop for this. You might also choose to remove it if you're sitting on something. And then with your hands to the knees, take a deep inhale. And as you exhale, start to rotate the body towards the left and then towards the back. And then as you inhale, go towards the right, towards the front, drawing circles in a counterclockwise direction. And then choose a range of motion that feels good in your body. So you might stay mostly upright, or you might let the whole spine get into the movement. Moving with your breath at your pace, taking a full round of breath for each circle that you make. And if there's a sticky spot you want to pause in, breathe into, then go for it. Otherwise, keep going. The last few turns this direction. And then the next time you inhale, at the top of the inhale, take a brief pause, and then use your exhale to change direction. This side might feel a little different too, so you might keep your circles small to begin with, but make the movement whatever you need it to be. The last few turns this direction. As you feel ready to, start to slow down your circles, and eventually we'll meet back in an upright position, giving your body just a brief pause to settle. When you're ready, you can flutter open the eyes, you can release the legs out, give them a little shake. And then when you're ready, we'll come down onto the belly, so you can make your way there any way you like. And then once you lower down, you can slide that right knee up towards the right-hand side, and then keep the hands roughly underneath the shoulders. So make sure that the right knee feels comfortable. If you want to pat it a little bit, then go for it. See where you want the right foot pointing. I'm choosing straight back, but if you want to point it towards the left leg, then go for that if that feels more comfortable. With the hands under the shoulders, just the baby cobra. Inhale, breath, lift up any amount, and exhale, soften. Inhale, lift, and exhale, lower. It might just be a small range of motion, a couple more. Last one. Awesome. Now take the hands a little wider apart. You might stay on palms flat or maybe fingertips. And still, just a small range of motion. Inhale, breath, lift any amount. And exhale, lower. 4 more. And final one. Awesome. Touching down, and then send your arms out in front. And we'll start to walk the hands over towards the top right corner of the mat so we can find a side stretch to the left-hand side. Now, for some people, it will feel better to have the elbows bent. It might feel better for the shoulders. But if you want the arms extended, then go for that. And from here, you could also take that left leg down towards the right a little bit too. Maybe hug that right knee a little bit higher. And breathe into whatever stretch you're feeling here. And full expansive inhales, breathe into any sticky spots. And with your exhales, soften anything you don't need. As you feel ready, slowly walking back to center, you can re-extend that right leg long. Give the hips just a little shake out here. And we'll set the second side, so slide the left knee up towards the left, see what feels best for this side, and bring the hands underneath the shoulders. And this side may feel a little different, so take it slow. Inhale, breath, baby cobra, lift any amount, and exhale, soften. A few more. Last couple. Last one. Once you touch down, take the hands a little bit wider, and then once again, inhale, breath, lift, and exhale, lower. And four more. Last one. And touching down, send the arms out in front, and then walk the hands towards the top left corner. Maybe left knee comes up a little, maybe right foot towards the bottom left. Arms extended or elbows bent, see what feels better. Breathe. As you're ready, walking the torso back to center, releasing the left leg long, and give the hips a little movement. And then hands under the shoulders. You can press your way up to tabletop, and then slide the knees a little wider apart. We'll bring the hips towards the heels and find child's pose. You can bring a prop between hips and heels. You can bring a prop under the forehead. The arms can stay forward. You can bend the elbows. You can change the expression. Find whatever feels best. If you like a little movement here, you can sway the hips. You could rock the forehead. Maybe choose stillness. Notice your breath. Take that scan of the body. When you feel ready to move on, you can extend the arms out in front, and plant the hands to the floor, and then pull the body up to a tabletop position. And knees can come in, you can tuck the toes under, and then give the hips just a little sway side to side. And send the right foot to the back of the mat and keep the toes tucked under. Start to press the hips back in space. Find that stretch through the back line of the right leg. You can always bend the knee a little bit if you need to here. And maybe stillness or maybe pulsing front and back a little bit, bringing the weight forward, stretching the back foot, and then bringing that heel back, bringing the weight back. And as you're ready, lowering the right knee, switching to the left. And pressing that left heel back, stretching the left leg, choose stillness, or again with your breath, maybe inhale forward and exhale back. Awesome. Lower the left knee to the floor. Come and find a kneeling shape. And then we'll bring the hands down by the sides. Bring the backs of the hands to the floor. And without putting too much weight on the hands like this, imagine that you're trying to draw the hands forward in space, and you might find a nice stretch to the outside of the wrist. Awesome. And then when you're ready, bring your hands back to the floor. Spread the fingers nice and wide. You can tuck the toes and lift the hips to find downward facing dog. Now, it might feel good to pedal the heels a little bit, maybe to sway the hips. It might feel nice to pulse forward and back or side to side. So take the next 8 or so breaths, move any way you need. And even here, continue to check in with the body, with the mind, with the breath, and see if anything needs a little more attention. Hands stay actively pressing into the floor. You can bend the knees as much as you need, especially if that helps you find that downward slant with the spine. All right, and when you're ready, mindfully inhale that left leg up behind you. And as you exhale, we'll step the left foot forward between the hands. You can spin the right heel to the floor, right toes point towards the right. And with an inhale, come on up and we'll find warrior two. And check in with your stance here. You might take the left foot to the left, to the right a little bit. Find the place that feels the most stable for today. It may feel a little different than last time. And then likewise with that back foot, it can point out to the side, a little more forward, even a little more out. Again, check in to see what feels the most stable, the most grounding. And then from here, you might extend the arms. You might soften the shoulders if they're shrugging. Gaze can be forward, to the side, or back. And you're welcome to close down the eyes if you want to challenge balance. And keep your breath strong and steady. All right. The arms extended, take a deep inhale. And then as you exhale, cross the right arm underneath the left. You can bring hands to the shoulders, or you can continue the interlace, maybe backs of the hands or palms together. And then turn your chest, maybe most towards the front of the mat, towards that top right hand corner. You can keep the legs as they are, or maybe take that left foot just a little bit wider to give yourself more room. And take a deep inhale, lengthen the front body, lift the chest. And then as you exhale, start to hinge your way forward for a humble warrior. So left shoulder might land on top of or just inside the left knee. Notice where the hips are in space. If that left hip starts to sway out behind you, see if you can press the feet down a little more and keep the spine kind of tracking towards that top right corner. You can let the arms be heavy here. Enjoy that shoulder stretch. Let the head be heavy as well. And breathe here. All right, if you have your bind, you can let that go, fingertips to the floor, and then walk your hands about halfway down towards the right, extending the left leg and then paralleling the feet. So setting up like you would for a wide-legged forward fold. If you like to have props nearby for more support, then go for it. If the low back is sensitive, feel free to stay in a halfway lift. Otherwise, we'll explore a different bind here. So you're welcome to bring hands to hips if that feels like plenty, or maybe interlace the hands behind the back. And take an inhale breath, lengthen, find that halfway lift, and then stay in the halfway lift. Really anchor the feet to the floor. And take another inhale, lengthen, tailbone to crown, and pause here. Inhale, lengthen, heels to tailbone, and pause. One final inhale, and then this time exhale, forward fold. And hands can stay at the low back. If you like to extend arms up towards the ceiling, then go for it. Mindful of the shoulders, the elbows, the wrists. Mindful of the low back and the hips, the ankles. Always welcome to modify your shape. Always welcome to find a little movement within it if it helps you settle. Always welcome for stillness. If you have the arms lifted overhead, you can lower them down to the floor. Take your inhale, come back to that halfway lift. Once again, we'll pause here. Really press the feet into the floor. Now with an inhale, come all the way up. You can circle the arms up towards the ceiling. If you're at all lightheaded, keep the arms lifted. Otherwise, when you're ready, release them down to your sides. And spin the heels in, the toes out, and then bend the knees and we'll find a goddess squat. So make sure that the knees, the hips are all comfortable. I generally like to track knees and toes together, so you might find a sway side to side, see if it feels comfortable. If not, change things up a little bit. And then notice sometimes there's a tendency to stick the bum back here. So if you find that happening, find that gentle hug, pubic bone towards the belly button to support the spine. And then maybe arms up to cactus. Notice what's happening in the body. Is the forehead getting a little scrunched up or something else? See if you can still breathe those smooth inhales and exhales. Maybe you can even bend the knees a little deeper. Maybe close down the eyes. If the eyes are closed, you can open them with an inhale breath, come all the way up. And then we'll spin that right foot towards the back of the mat. And you might spin that left foot in a little bit. So think of triangle shape here, and then reach the right arm towards the front, the new front of the mat, left hand to the left hip. And with an inhale breath, reach as far as you can. With your exhale, you can hinge, maybe right hand to the shin or to a block, the floor. Left hand can stay where it is or reach it up towards the ceiling. And even here, notice where the hips are. If you feel them starting to sway behind you, really press the feet down to bring the hips back to center. And breathe here. All right, the next time you inhale, reach the left arm up and over. As you exhale, we'll bring the hands down to the floor. And now step to downward facing dog and facing the back of the mat. And check in here, see what the hips want. If down dog feels like a good rest shape, then you're welcome to stay. If you'd rather find child's pose or maybe flow as part of your practice, be wherever you need to be for the next 8 or so breaths. Making your way down to back to downward facing dog as you feel ready. And from your down dog, with an inhale, lift the right leg up behind you. And with your exhale, step the right foot forward between the hands, spin the left heel to the floor. And setting your warrior 2 legs with an inhale breath, come on up. And then set up your shape. So right foot to the right a little bit, to the left. Find the place that feels stable. Play around with the back foot as well. Arms can reach when you're ready, and notice where you are in space. It sometimes has a tendency to reach forward here. So see if you can keep the shoulders roughly on top of the hips. Gaze wherever you like, or close down the eyes to challenge balance. Maybe there's the option to keep that front knee bent a little deeper. And if the eyes are closed, you can flutter them open. Take a deep inhale. As you exhale, take the left arm underneath the right, hands to shoulders, or find your eagle arms. Now turn the chest towards the new top left corner of the mat and take a deep inhale. Puff up the chest, lengthen the front body. As you exhale, start to hinge your way forward to find your humble warrior. So right shoulder on the inside or right on top of that right knee. If you need to adjust your feet even here, you're welcome to. Maybe right foot to the right. And keep the legs active to keep your hips in midline. Arms can be heavy, head can be heavy. And breathe wherever you need to breathe. If you have your bind, release fingertips to the floor, walk the hands down to the left, extend both legs, parallel the feet. And again, check in here, see what feels best for the body. Always the option to skip the next little bit, maybe stay in your halfway lift, maybe with blocks. Otherwise, find your halfway lift, hands to hips or interlace hands at the low back. If you're interlacing, switch the cross of the fingers so that it's a slightly awkward clasp. And really lengthen here, tailbone to crown. And stay. Deep inhale. Deep exhale. Inhale for length, for space. Exhale to ground. One last inhale. And hinge and fold over the legs. Your arm expression, you can keep the bind, you can change it. Choose stillness or movement. We're here for about 10 breaths. If the arms are lifted, you can release them, come up to your halfway lift position, and take a deep inhale. And stay. Exhale, press the feet. And now inhale, come all the way up, circle the arms up. And again, arms can stay a little bit. You can release them when you feel ready. And spin the heels in, toes out. We'll bend the knees for goddess. And this time you might take the feet a little bit wider apart. Maybe your knees will allow you to bend in a little bit deeper. Just like the first round, check in with the low back, make sure it feels supported. If you like to bring the hands up to cactus, then great. Notice if the shoulders came up as the arms did, see if you can soften just a little. And breathe that length from one elbow to the other, and space for the chest and shoulders. Maybe close down the eyes. All right. And you can open the eyes, release the arms, press the feet into the floor to extend the legs. And then left toes towards the front of the mat, right foot mostly towards the right. Right hand to hip, left arm reaches forward. Take a deep inhale, lengthen, reach as far as you can. And then as you exhale, hinge, we'll set up for triangle, second side. So left hand shin, block floor, right hand hip, maybe ceiling. Keep breathing that length from the tailbone to the crown, from the heels to the tailbone. Soften anything you don't need here. The next time you inhale, reach the right arm towards the front. And then as you exhale, bring the hands to the floor, step back to downward facing dog. And take a few breaths here, move the body any way you need. If you like to flow, then go for it. And this time we'll eventually meet in child's pose. If you're wanting to rest in down dog, then of course that's fine too. In child's pose, when you're ready, any version of the shape, adding support for the body where you need it. And give the hips a gentle rock side to side. And give the head a gentle rock. And extending the arms out in front, and with an inhale, press up to a tabletop position. And then tuck the toes, lift the knees, come back to downward facing dog. And from your downward facing dog, take a deep inhale and deep sigh. And again. Last one. And then inhale, bend the knees deeply, look forward. As you exhale, you can step, walk, or hop to the top of the mat. Inhale, breath, halfway lift, lengthen, and then stay here as you exhale. And tone the belly, inhale, lengthen the spine. Stay, exhale. Lengthen from the legs, inhale, and stay. And then strong belly, flat back, come all the way up, circle the arms up. And when you're ready, you can release your arms down to your sides. If you're a little lightheaded, keep the arms up longer. And then if you have your heart blocks, you can bring them just out in front of you. And then we'll come and find a mountain shape so you can lift and spread the toes out a little bit, lower the toes with a little distance in between. And don't worry too much about where the feet are pointing, just find your natural standing stance. And take a moment to lengthen that back line of the body, from the heels to the tailbone, tailbone to the crown of the head. Lengthen the back of the neck as well, and maybe a slight tuck of the chin. Find space for the chest, softness for the shoulders. And hands can be open towards the front or turned in. See what feels most natural in your body. Notice if there's a tendency to lock the knees. See if you can keep just a little softness there. They don't have to be bent necessarily. And maybe close down the eyes to find your balance, to challenge your balance. Deep, full inhales and grounding exhales. Only when you feel ready, you can wiggle the fingers and the toes once again. You can flutter open the eyes. We'll set up to balance. If you'd like to be close to a wall, then go for it. Just have your hard blocks nearby, kind of in front of you. And then we'll set up here. So we'll start by balancing on the left foot first. So you can really ground that left foot down, lift the right knee to center. You can stay on the right foot to begin with, and then we'll spin that right knee out towards the right. So setting up for tree pose, and this may be like a good place to stop. I will offer some balance challenging, closing down the eyes. So especially if you want to play around with that, you may choose to stay here for the first little bit. You can also connect the foot anywhere along the inside of that right leg. Generally, we avoid the knee if there's sensitivity there. If you like to bring the foot even higher, might need a little help to get there. And then notice where the hips are. Sometimes as the knee comes up, the tendency is to turn the body towards the right. So see if you can stay facing forward with the whole chest, the whole front body. And then this may feel like a good place to stay. You can have arms by the sides or hands to prayer. You can take arms towards the ceiling and stay and work with the breath, those expansive inhales, grounding exhales. If you want to play with challenging the balance, just make sure there's nothing breakable nearby. And maybe just for a split second, close down the eyes, see what that feels like. You might even have a spot that you gaze at, and when you close your eyes, keep visualizing that spot. See if it helps you maintain your balance. If the wobbles happen, that's fine. And especially if you're playing with closing down the eyes, just notice if you start to hold your breath, make sure that you're still breathing. Last couple deep breaths, whatever you're doing, wherever you are. All right. Back to center. With an inhale, lift that right knee up just a little, and then we'll cross the right leg behind the left. You can take the left hand to the left hip here. Inhale, reach the right arm high, lengthen the whole right side. And then as you exhale, arc over towards the left. Top arm can stay, Or you can bend the elbow, catch the back of the head. Maybe right foot is on the tippy toes, left hand pushing the hips towards the right perhaps. Find that deep stretch for the whole right hand side. All right, inhale breath, come on up, release the arms, and then we'll take the right leg and now cross it in front of the left. This is where the props might be handy, so you can have them just in front. Now take an inhale breath here, circle the arms up. As you exhale, start to hinge your way forward towards a forward fold, but go slowly because with the legs crossed, it might feel quite different in the body. And again, you can stay in a halfway lift shape. You could fold over the legs if you feel ready. And then option to add an extra side stretch from here. So from a halfway lift, you might walk the hands over towards the right a little bit. And then again, you can stay in the lift or you can think about folding over the legs, see what that feels like. If you're over towards the right, find a halfway lift and come back to center. And then wherever you are, you can uncross the legs and see what it feels like to give the hips a little movement, maybe to pedal the knees a little bit. And when you're ready, we'll meet in a standing position. So you can come up to mountain any way you like. If you need a little movement on the way, then go for it. We'll come and find stillness for a few breaths just to check back in with the body. You might notice the right side and the left side, see where things feel the same, see where they feel different. And when you're ready, wiggle the fingers and the toes, flutter the eyes open. And setting to balance on the second side. So again, you might step closer to a wall. Also, one side tends to be a little easier to balance on than the other. So if the side feels harder, don't be hard on yourself. It just is what it is. So lift and spread those right toes out, lower them. Really ground down through the right foot, come onto the left toes, and then spin the left knee out towards the left. And again, maybe you're staying here, maybe you're connecting the left foot to the inside of the right leg, and generally we'll mirror whatever happened on the first side, but this side may need something a little different, and that's fine too. Chest, front body still facing towards the front, even if the knee comes in a little bit. Find the arm expression that you want to play with here. The first side, I was definitely, oops, it's still up. The first side, I was definitely using the arms a lot for support, for balance. If you're thinking about closing down the eyes, then again, you might find a focal point, something to keep you steady, and then you can slowly close the eyes down, but keep visualizing that point. Right foot really pressing down into the floor, right leg pressing into the left foot. And make sure you're still breathing, even if things get really wobbly. Last few deep breaths. Awesome. When you're ready, lift the left knee up a little bit, and then we'll cross the left leg behind the right. Right hand to the right hip, reach the left arm high with a deep inhale. And then as you exhale, arc over towards the right, lengthen that whole left hand side. Left toes can stay pressing. If you need to adjust something, go for it. Maybe bend the top elbow. Inhale, breath, come on up. And then we'll cross the left leg in front of the right. Have your props nearby for this. Inhale, breath, circle the arms up towards the ceiling. And then exhale, start to hinge your way forward towards a cross-legged forward fold. And you can stay in center, find your fold or your halfway lift, or this time take the hands towards the left corner a little bit. And again, from a lift or start to fold, find a fold and a side stretch here. Notice what the legs are needing. You can always bend a little bit more. You can always uncross as well. When you're ready, inhale breath, halfway lift, walk back to center, and then uncross the legs. And see what feels good for the body, a little rock, and pedaling. And then take the feet a little wider, still point the toes out to an angle. We'll start to bend the knees to come and find a squat. Your props are handy. If you want to make yourself a seat, then go for it. Especially if that helps take pressure out of the knees or the hips. Hands can stay down. You can bring hands together at the heart. If the knees are being pressed apart by the elbows, then press the knees back into the elbows. Find a sense of stability through the pelvis. And then even here, if you like to close down the eyes, go for it. Especially after those balancing shapes, and take a moment to notice the space around your eyes, around your mouth, around your eyebrows. See if they're still working, trying to keep you balanced from before, and maybe they can soften a little bit here if they're no longer needed. All right, as you're ready, you can remove a prop if you're using one hand behind you, then the other, lower the bum down to the floor, and give the legs just a little windshield wiper side to side to release. Awesome. Find your soft block if you have one, and then come to sit off the edge of it. We'll take the legs wide apart here, but then we'll bend the right knee in. So right foot to the inside of the left leg perhaps, and then you're facing forward in between the legs. Imagine that they were still open and you're somewhere in the middle. If the right knee is floating or if it needs a little support, feel free to add a prop for it. And then likewise, make sure that the left side feels supported as well. Sometimes that knee might need a little rolled up blanket or something underneath it. And from here, we're going to set up to fold towards the middle of the legs. Before you do that, you might imagine a slight external rotation, especially for that left leg. So if the toes are pointing up, imagine pointing them back behind you a little bit and see what that does for the hip. Always the option to stay upright here, work with the breath, or if you're coming with me for the fold, take a deep inhale. With your exhale, you can start to walk the hands forward in space. Listen to the spine. If it wants to pulse a little before settling, then go for it. If the elbows aren't quite reaching the floor, then if you have another prop nearby, feel free to bring that in. Maybe for the elbows, depending on how deep you're coming, you could also support the forehead here or something else. Mindful that it's a pain-free expression in your body. If you do start to feel pinching or anything like that, then please back out or modify your shape. As you're ready with an inhale, with the support of the hands, slowly start to make your way back up. We'll find a counter stretch. If you have a block under the right knee, you can remove it, and then take the right hand off behind you and towards the right. And ground down through the right hand, that right shin, and through the left foot. And with an inhale breath, start to lift the pelvis up. Left arm can come up and over. And then see what you need this to be here. Do you need it to be more of a side stretch, then lengthen that whole left side? Do you need it to be a little bit more of a back bend? Then think about opening the heart up towards the ceiling. And breathe into your shape. 5 deep breaths. All right, and then the way you came in, slowly coming back out, lowering the bum down to the floor. And then we'll set up for the second side. So find your seat, extend that right leg out towards the right. And when you're ready, you can bend that left knee in towards center. Left foot finds the inside of the right leg. And then see if you want to add some support for that left knee. And take a moment to check in. Maybe think about pointing the right toes slightly behind you now. Block nearby for support. Inhale, breath, lengthen. And with your exhale, start to walk your way forward towards your fold. This side may need something different, so don't worry if it ends up looking different to the first. Use your props any way you need for support. Just like before, use an inhale breath to slowly make your way back up. You can remove your block if you have one underneath the left knee, and then brace your left hand down, left shin, right foot, and with an inhale, lift the hips, reach the right arm up and over. And again, see what you need to make this. Is it more of a side body stretch? Is it more of a heart opener stretch? Breathe wherever you are. And then the way you came in, slowly lower the hips back down. Release the legs, give them a gentle windshield wiper side to side. Awesome. And then you can spin your legs to one side. Keep your hard blocks nearby, so we'll use them on the back, and then lower down any way you like to get there. And take a moment to set yourself up. And then we'll set up for a twist here. So you can extend the right leg long down the mat, and then take the hips over to the left a little bit, and guiding the left knee over towards the right, and you can set it up to land on one of your props if you're using one. And then see what the right leg wants to be doing. You're welcome to stay exactly here. If you want to find that cat pulling its tail version of the shape, then you might think about bending the right knee in and then reach down with the left hand to catch that right foot. The right hand can stay for support. If one of the shoulders is lifting up off the floor, that's not a bad thing, but if you feel like you'd benefit from a little more grounding underneath that left shoulder, it probably is, then feel free to slide a prop there as well. See if there's anything else you need here. If you want to add a neck twist as well, you can take the head to the right a little bit, lower the gaze down to the left. You can turn the head back to center first, and maybe release that left or the right foot, release the left leg, and let the hips return back to center. Between sides, if you need a little windshield wiper or something like that, then go for it. You can make sure you have a prop down on the left-hand side for the second side. Hips over to the right a few inches, left leg can extend, and then guide that right knee across the body, bring it to land on your prop. And again, you might see what you need from here. Left leg can stay as it is, or if you want to bend the right knee, or the left knee rather, to catch it, then go for it. If you need any extra support here, maybe for the right shoulder or something else, then go for that. Perhaps the head to the left, the gaze down towards the right. Breathe into your twist. Breathe into whatever stretch you're feeling. head is to one side, you can bring it to center. And slowly release the legs one at a time. And bring the hips back to midline as well. And maybe a gentle windshield wiper of the knees side to side. Awesome. And then walk the feet in a little bit closer so that they're roughly underneath the knees. And from here, we'll lift the right leg up, cross the right ankle over the left knee. You can stay here for your figure four or reach through and catch hold of the left shin, maybe the left hamstring. And see what you need here. You can stay exactly as you are. You can add a little movement. You could add a little bracing action, right elbow to the right thigh. If you want more of a hamstring stretch, feel free to hold the left hamstring and extend the left foot up towards the ceiling. Gently release that left leg and cross the right. We can set straight up for the second side. If you need a little something in between, then go for it. Left ankle over the right knee. And again, this might be a good place to stay, or you can hold the hamstring or the shin, mirror whatever you did on the first side and modify it if the side needs to be a little different. Awesome. And gently release. Stillness, movement when you come out. Take whatever you need. It might feel nice to happy baby here as well, so you could bring the knees up and then reach between them, catch hold of feet, ankles, or shins, bring them to point towards the ceiling if that's okay for the low back. Maybe a rock side to side. Gently release the feet, but we'll keep the knees in towards the chest. And you can bring the arms around to give yourself a little bit of a squeeze here, maybe a rock side to side. And we'll take one last shape before we set up for Shavasana. So if there's anything you need to have nearby for Shavasana, then go for it. And then from here, don't worry about bringing any support for the hips because we won't stay for too long. But think about extending the legs up towards the ceiling, and you're welcome to keep as much of a bend to the knees as you need to make the shape feel comfortable. And reach the arms up towards the ceiling as well. And then imagine that there's a drop of water on your hands that you're trying to shake off. And then similarly, imagine that there's something on your feet that you're shaking off as well. Awesome, but that water is actually a little bit sticky, so you have to shake a little bit harder. And then a little harder still, almost off. And then just really go for it. The whole body can get into it if you like. Last little bit, last little shake. And then release everything down to the floor. Take a deep inhale through the nose. Deep sigh. One more. In Shavasana, you can change your shape to find something more comfortable if you need to. If you're happy where you landed, then feel free to stay. If you need to adjust anything to make yourself a little more comfortable, then please do. Softening your breath back to your natural inhale and exhale. Letting the body get heavy as you settle yourself in. Slowly start to deepen the breath to reawaken the body. Wiggling the fingers and the toes, moving the wrists and the ankles. It might feel nice to take the arms up overhead and give yourself a full body stretch. Point the toes, reach through the hands. Maybe rolling down to one side wherever you have the most space, and take a pause for a couple of breaths. And with the support of the hands, making your way up to any comfortable seated position. Cross-legged if that feels good, or anything else you prefer. Settling whatever's touching the floor, rebounding the spine, softening the shoulders. Find a little length through that back line of the neck, maybe that gentle tuck, chin towards the throat. And then take these last few moments of your practice to check in with the body, with the breath, with the mind. Hands can stay where they are, collect them at the heart. And thank you for sharing your breath and your energy. Namaste. Thank you for joining me for practice. And again, my name is Nicholas. If you have any questions, please reach out and have a great week.